But anyway, right, we're going to move on to our next debate. Now, I think actually we've got a debut on our hands.
To me?
Yeah.
So many on the left will get angry at me when I say that it's an invasion. We are being invaded. But it's hard to argue when already this year we've had 31,000 illegal entries to this country via the channel, 5,400 in October alone. Now, we hear stories from the authorities in France, from Dunkirk, from Calais, of gunfights in the camps, of machete wars. Now, these people are either on their way or they're already here in this country. We have no idea who is entering the UK or who the government is going to give asylum to. Our system is being gamed from around the world. Yes, there are genuine asylum seekers, but most of these coming across are not that. Our communities are being put at risk. We have asylum seekers and migrants pretending they are children and ending up in our children's schools. We have crimes emanating from the migrant hotels. And recently, unfortunately and tragically, we've seen a murder from a staff member of one of the migrant hotels. So I'm asking the panel, are our communities being put at risk?
Yeah, well, Renee?
So I think definitely. I mean, I'm really worried about this. And as a mother of a young girl as well, same as Adam, a 5-year-old, I loathe to think the world that is evolving in front of us, because society is being changed by these migrants coming in with different values to ours. They have a different moral ethos and they view women very differently to the way that hopefully the men around me view
I mean, I'll probably get sacked for saying this, but I actually deeply worry about living in a country in which the established church is no longer the dominant religion, and in fact it's Islam that is the dominant religion. And I probably will get sacked for saying that.
No, I agree with you on that, but I actually think the problem is that we confuse immigration with illegal immigration in this debate a lot. Now, I've got my issues with the amount of illegal migrants in this country, but the fact of the matter is illegal immigration shouldn't even be an issue. You should be able to secure your border. That number should be zero. How this has somehow become combined with racism, combined with the idea of multiculturalism, it's a separate debate.
Agreed.
I mean, all I can say is the wokey, obviously, is, and being married to an immigrant, somebody that his parents fled war in Myanmar, is that if you were desperate, you would get on that boat with your children. I'm sorry, but you would. Any of you
but no, children aren't staying up. They're all military-aged men, economic migrants.
You don't come from Switzerland or France or Germany and be desperate to escape war.
But Renee, look, the reason people end up here is because they've already been told they're not going to be allowed to settle in wherever they end up, like France. That's the deal.
Yes, then?
Because it's about empathy, humanity, caring.
What about empathy?
Wouldn't you want someone to try and save you if you were desperate?
What about the empathy, humanity and caring for the people here?
We've got enough to go around if we only distribute it properly.
Nikki, you've just been saying that you're deeply worried, right, about violence against women.
Of course,
well, what about
by
the violence
all kinds
that's
of
been
men
committed against women by the boat people who've arrived here?
Well, you know what, actually, and I've said this before on this channel multiple times, if you've really got an issue with that, then just stop young men coming in. Only have women and children
It's 90% men that are coming in. And Darren...
Single men, yes.
Look, it's costing this country $5.4 billion to house these people, give them health care and fully support asylum seekers. Now,
but we can't keep our pensioners...
Exactly that. We can't even give our pensioners £300, which was $1.4 billion, I believe, per year. Yeah. So this problem is a huge one, and taxpayers and people that I speak to are sick of it.
But there is no solution to immigration. It's one of those political problems we will debate forever and ever and ever because it's just a fact of life.
There's a solution to illegal immigration. It really annoys me that this is somehow a difficult challenge for us to solve. Australia did solve it in the early 2010s.
And left loads of people in the water drowning, yes.
No, in the long term it creates a deterrent which stops people from drowning because less people get on rickety boats.
In the process.
No, less people get on rickety boats. This is the safer option for people.
200 people have died trying to cross the channel in the last 5 years. Let's not forget that. I'm not blaming the migrants, I'm blaming the system. As soon as they know they're going to get free everything, they're going to come. It's the system that needs to change.
And if you were coming from a war-torn country with a dictator, you would do exactly the same.
This characterisation is just wrong. Most of them are economic migrants coming from safe countries. We know that. That's a fact.
Why wouldn't you just turn up at that embassy of the country you want to go to and claim asylum there?
Because what if it's Britain and you already speak English because it's the global language of the world?
Well, tough tea.
But if they were if they were coming from a war-torn country where they would be granted asylum, they wouldn't throw their passports overboard because they wouldn't have to. But
they don't have any documentation. Lots of them.
Oh, they do. They throw it overboard.
Look, Darren, we need mass deportations. That is the only way we're going to solve this problem, or turn around the boats like Australia did and Greece did. They might have got raps on the knuckles, but that's all that happened.
Andrea has a question for you, Adam. She says, well, she puts it to you and Nikki. She says, why do these men leave their women and kids behind?
Exactly.
Well, they're single men. They don't leave women and kids behind. They're young men with no
If there was a war in the UK, I would not leave my wife and my children to be at risk.
But they're not
I would
often
take
married.
them
That's
with
just
me.
a misnomer. Sorry, that's not factually accurate.
I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't risk their lives coming over the channel in the first place in a small little dinghy.
But that tells you about
something. We've seen young children die.
The trampling of that child as well, the toddler. I want to kick us off by talking about J.K. Rowling, right? She nailed it, I thought, when she said this. She said, thoughts and prayers with David Tennant at this very difficult time. Because while the former Doctor Who was telling Kemi Badenoch to shut up over her, that was his words, over her stand against sterilising children and her commitment to safeguarding women's spaces, well, Kemi was busy actually defending these kids from medicalisation in the name of ideology, throwing safeguarding entirely out of the window. Now, Badenoch has been relentless in unmasking the racism behind the agenda of critical race theory. It's a theory that lurks in our schools and in our public bodies, telling your kids that because of the colour of their skin, they have an inherent privilege. To me, there is nothing more racist than that statement. They refuse to pretend that all cultures are equally valid, and actually Kemi Badenoch said that on the BBC. And she wasn't eager to appease those who want to rewrite Britain rather than actually come here and embrace it. You might not think that's a brave thing to say, but actually for politicians, it is. Let's face it, she's the kind of truth-teller that actually left the BBC and others clutching their pearls at what she had to say. She isn't another bland suit reciting safe party-line drivel. And before you get your knickers in a twist, no, Rob Jenrick, I'm not saying that about you. She's a disruptor. She's ready to make Prime Minister's questions Sir Keir's weekly nightmare. He's going to be stood there dreaming of Lord Ali Bye-Bye's latest perks, minus the scrutiny that he'll no doubt get. She's not here to slow-walk leftist ideas like the Tories of old. She's here to put British values back where they belong. And, you know, spare us the Labour glass ceiling gloating over Rachel Thieves. I've heard it all now. The first female Chancellor. Well, what she achieved beyond breaking the backs of Britain's farmers. Badenoch has no time for Labour's managerial mediocrity or of its toxic identity politics. So could she, my friends, this is a question I want to ask you at home tonight, could she lift the Tories from their malaise and remind Britain of its proud, unapologetic identity, providing the party don't fall into the left's penchant for toxic identity politics, as James cleverly already has in this tweet that he posted here. There's nought wrong with being male, pale and stale. I do it quite well myself. Is Britain in for a conservative renaissance under Blazing Badenoch then? Well, only time will tell. But let's...
I don't think that a culture that thinks gay people should be stoned is as valid as ours. We do not want to see teachers teaching their white pupils about white privilege and inherited racial guilt. People should not be made to feel guilty for questioning levels of immigration, legal or illegal, if it is changing the place they know and love. If people don't want their taxes to pay for foreign criminals to be in our jails or on our streets, those criminals should be removed. Our country is not a dormitory for people just here to make money or a hotel for those passing through. It is our home and no one else will look after it.
Well, some of those reasons may well be why she won the leadership contest tonight. But let's see what my panel think. Dr. Renee, she stole the day. Do you think that was right, the right call for the Conservative Party?
I do think it was right. And the reason for that is I actually think out of the two of them, and they were both saying the things that true Tories want people to say, but I think out of the two of them, I felt that Kemi was the most authentic. I thought it was coming from a place where she actually means it, where I had this feeling all of the time that Jenrick was saying what he thought he needed to say to win. So from that perspective, I think it's great. I think she's going to destroy Keir at the box every week. And I think that's what Labour are dreading, and it's why they tried to talk her down.
Nikki, would you accept that she was the candidate that Labour were fearing the most?
I don't know about that. I mean, I still can't get over the comments she made about maternity pay, suggesting that £187 a week, which is the maximum you can get, by the way, was somehow causing the whole economic system to be so overburdened. I think she's made some really terrible missteps already, even before she's been elected.
I think you're just exaggerating the situation. I watched that entire interview and I didn't come away with that feeling at all. And I'm a woman, a mother who recently had maternity pay.
Of course, and so am I. As we both are, Renee. But she walked right into a trap. I know maybe she was trying to make a broader point about how the economy works and business taking on too much responsibility. But it's such a misstep to basically come across like you've said, women are the problem, pregnant women are the problem.
But it's pretty hard to say that women are the problem when she's a woman, and this is the key.
But it's not, that's the point.
But this is the key point, is that the only thing that Labor still believes in today is identity politics, and having a black woman as leader neutralises the only thing they still believe in. They would absolutely hate it. I can assure you they are worried about this choice.
But the important thing to say is just because someone is a black woman doesn't mean they're going to stand up for the rights of black women or black people in general.
You're making a very good argument against identity politics. It's unfortunate the Labor Party can't do it.
She's standing up for the rights of the British people, and they happen to also be and include black women.
Absolutely, but she herself has laboured the point so much about, you know, the war on woke, which is manufactured by us in the media, by the way. That is not real.
That's nonsense.
Hold on. Woke is an old-fashioned term that belongs to a completely different body of academic
research. Why are there men
research.
going into women's bathrooms all of a sudden? Why is it
But
that
Darren
you find young women, autistic young women, chopping off their breasts in the name of an
I agree with you. That is about
this
that's
is the pernicious
misogyny.
ideology that has ran through our institutions.
Darren, that is institutionalised misogyny that has existed in our culture for thousands of years. It's just taken a new form, and now it's against young lesbians. No, it's not woke. It's not woke. What fundamentally people that believe they are woke are trying to do is protect, with empathy, the right of minorities. There's nothing more to it. And I completely agree with you. There's a bunch of very left-wing nutcases that are far more left-wing than me that say absolutely atrocious things and are violent on the internet and offensive and all the rest of it.
Hang on,
but that's not the majority of people who think they are woke.
Yeah, I want to put your viewers' questions to you. Paul says, it's not Paul. Where have I lost? I've lost you. Colin, it's Colin. I was torn and swayed from one to the other, but eventually I voted for Kemi. Congratulations, Kemi. But then another of our viewers says, Helen, good evening, Helen. She says, nice words, Darren, but the party is still full of One Nation liberal wets who will be sharpening their knives soon enough. And that would have been the case, Helen, as I'm sure you'll agree, with Robert Jenrick at the helm as well. So is the Conservative Party, the question is, Adam, just beyond repair?
It would seem so, because there are so many MPs that probably should be in the Liberal Democrats right now. Again, I don't fully trust Kemi because of her closeness to Michael Gove. And to have the backing of Michael Gove, for me, Michael Gove is one of the reasons that the Conservative Party's, fouled.
Haven't we discounted that now? Haven't we discounted that kind of conspiracy theory now?
The Michael Gove thing?
Yeah.
I mean, I happen to... Yeah, I know that's not true. I don't want to go into too much detail because it would be unkind.
It's not true.
Then it's not. Right. It's definitely not. I know there are lots of people. But, Will, what I was going to say is, very briefly, because we want to get to your segment, but one of our questions from Babs says, do you think Kemi's appointment bodes well for Reform UK?
No, I don't. I think the only chance they had to actually really fight Reform was to take them on from the right, and Kemi gives them the opportunity to do that. I think this is a very good result for the Conservatives, not for Reform.